This is the story of how I defended my home with a .25 caliber PCP air rifle. Now our story today begins in a shitty little city of Antioch, California. Antioch, California being one of the most crime-infested and garbage-ridden cities in Northern California, has its tendency to have more violent crime than most. Home invasions are no exception, and while I lived in that garbage little town of Antioch, my home was physically invaded. This is an actual home invasion situation where someone forcibly entered my home and was confronted with a rifle. Now this happened in the middle of the summer, and the reason why that person was able to gain access to my house was because we used to sleep with the back sliding glass door open and the screen door closed. Good way to stay cool without spending a ton of bucks on an air conditioner. However, in this city, it was more just an opportunity for that type of person, and it turned out to be exploited one summer night. An individual entered my home through the back sliding glass door, walked down the hallway, and opened my door first, my wife and my door first. Now this happened about 12:30, 1 a.m., and I was woken out of a dead sleep, so visually I mistakenly took this person to be my roommate in the dim light and basically gave them the get the fuck out of here type of a response. My wife, who was slightly more awake than I was, gave me the "that is not our roommate" immediate go signal. I remember everything in vivid detail from that point forward, where those endorphins and adrenaline hit my body from knowing that there was a threat in my home versus a roommate in my home. Also, almost instantly, time compression went crazy. What seemed to unfold to me in minutes was taking boom, 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 seconds at a time at this point. Very, very, very short spans of time, and it seemed like these conversations with my wife were taking a very long time. Not the case. Grabbed this rifle out of the corner of my room. It's a .25 caliber Benjamin Marauder. Makes about 40 foot-pounds of energy, 45 foot-pounds of energy on a good day. Grabbed a magazine off the nightstand and headed towards my door, rifle in hand. Took a last look at my wife and started off down the hall. As I got to the corner where the hallway meets the entryway, I rounded the corner, rifle shouldered, 100% ready to go. And I see this guy. He sees me. Whether or not he was intoxicated that night, he recognized the mule leg shape of a rifle that was shouldered up and instantly melted like a candle. Just folded up and got like 1/3 the size he was previously standing in front of me, and started to reach up towards the deadbolt behind him on the front door. There's no way I'm gonna smoke somebody in a defensive position. If a person is a direct threat to me, guaranteed every time I'm pulling the trigger. But in a case where someone is literally trying to just escape the situation, that's my end goal too, right? I want you the fuck out of my house at this point, not calling the cops for some type of explaining myself and having a coroner there as well. You don't want to end up in that position, because typically even the defender in the right ends up going to jail for a small period of time. I didn't want to deal with that at all. So no matter what, wasn't going to shoot someone in a defensive position, and I wanted to avoid that at all costs unless that was absolute unavoidable last resort. Even almost 5 years ago, it's like super clear, super vivid, super crisp. Right now, I can recall every facet, every detail, every whisker on that dude's face. And I also remember like how terrified that fool was. I think my big takeaways that night were, most people, in most situations, if you have the drop on them with what looks like a gun, don't want no part of it. In that situation, he did not take the time to ascertain whether this was a pellet gun, an airsoft gun, or a .308 rifle. Didn't matter to him. He knew he was at gunpoint, and that was enough to stop the situation. End of the day, home invasion was repelled with no shots fired. The capability was there, but true home defense unfolds so quickly that unless there's a dead giveaway that it's an air rifle, they never do the math on it to ask the question, is this real, is this fake? They just know they're at gunpoint, right? Like at that point, like how much time do you really have to find out whether it's real or whether it's fake? And what's the penalty for getting it wrong, right? So they don't want to take that risk. Point of this is, in a situation where I did not have access to a firearm, an air rifle for me, even with no shots fired, was wildly successful that night at repelling a home invasion. If I had had to use this, it would have stopped the situation in a hurry. But I never had to pull a trigger, and this was equally effective in that situation as a firearm. Fast forward 5 years. The airgun industry has come so far that it's absolutely ridiculous to even compare where we were half a decade ago to where we currently stand in 2024. If I'd had the same situation unfold, wouldn't have been a Marauder in my hands, would have been this 45 caliber HP Max with a pump action kit. I guarantee you this is a lethal tool. Upon hearing that, no one's going to test the math. It's only taken 5 years to go from questionably lethal to beyond a shadow of a doubt lethal, and I think that the end game at the end of the day would still be the same between this offering as well as the Marauder. I wouldn't have had to fire a shot if the perp in question had heard that rack and crack there. Now, the last time this video was filmed, it was filmed in an excited state because I had just one day previously been offered a potential sponsorship with Utah Airguns. And I was like, I'm going to put out this great video. And I put out the video about the home defense with the Marauder and was immediately ghosted until present day. Still at this point, do not get effed with by Utah Airguns for this reason, I think. But they ghosted me immediately after I put this episode out, and I realized the airgun industry as a whole doesn't want you to hear this. But the physics lesson involved says there's almost no difference terminal velocity, terminal energy-wise, between the rifle in my hands and a 9mm handgun. I think that means to all of us with the F on the report card that this is still, to this day, a viable alternative, and increasingly so the more that technology continues to push the edge of the envelope. Whether or not you agree with the ethics of using a tool like this in self-defense, no one can argue with the sheer energy these things are putting out, or the repeatability, as well as the calibers being brought to the table. I'm not going to go ahead and drag this one out and really kind of hammer the point home, but I think you guys are all smart enough out there to see what the result was on that night, as well as what the result would be on most nights in most defensive situations. I saw a video where a guy gave a mannequin an air rifle and then used one precision focused shot with a 5.56 to shoot the air tank. And the air tank obviously let go, but I thought to myself, that's not how home defense goes. There is such a fast-paced, high-energy, ultra-like electric energy during an encounter like that. There is no such thing as standing still. So I kind of wanted to go ahead and at least tell my story from my experience of an actual event that actually happened, so that you guys can go ahead and potentially make your own determination what's going to work for you. This would be a great place to go ahead and end today's video, but if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. You want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe for more with that notifications button so you can stay current on the channel as well as when these videos come out. If you really like what you saw today, make sure you share it so somebody else can see it. And I'll catch you boys in the next one.